Alrighty. Alrighty. Peter identifies Jesus as the Christ. They didn't know already, right? Let's see when this actually might be going back a little bit. Matthew 16. Actually, it's pretty later because this is pretty much later. This is Matthew chapter 16. Anyways, yes, Peter identifies Jesus as Christ. Let's go ahead and read a quote, short little speck of words here for this topic. It says, "Spheres of Influence" by Anonymous. It came from the Herzlet Map of Africa by Treaty 3rd EDN 868 section 234 line 10. That's just what I had written down at the time. Do not judge my annotations. But spheres of influence. That is this for this. So Peter had a very, I would think, reliable sphere of influence, being that he was a part of the 12 disciples and they followed Jesus with him every day. And they saw all of the people coming to him and everything. All of the disciples were there following him, watching all the miracles, being really just kind of the front runners and the first people around Jesus, really most of the time. I mean, occasionally Jesus kind of went off and did his own thing, but they were there for pretty much everything when it came to being with large groups of people and how Jesus was also away from large groups of people. So something to think about maybe is that the disciples saw the very much human part of Jesus, because he was in fact very, very human and doing his best to be just that, to be able to approach and to speak to so many people. So he was very human. They saw his human side and his human nature. So I'm sure they had doubts. I'm sure they were had maybe not doubts, but questions. But we come to know later that some of them definitely did have some doubts and maybe a little bit of an ego conflict or an ego battle like we all do. So it's nothing to say that this was something to discount them or anything like that. But we actually talk about here how Peter identifies, yes, you are the Christ. You are the Lord. There's no question about that. We'll see how the story goes. Good. Give me a second. Put this up here. Alright. Guys, don't get to see the surprise yet. They're not ready. So, starting out with Matthew, chapter 16, verses 13 through 17, verse 13 through chapter 17, verse 13. So this is a good little chunk here. I'm trying to see, I think this is the only one in this one. Let's talk about it. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do you say the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." "But what about you?" he asked. "Who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Then he ordered his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. From that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed on the third day and be raised to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. "Never, Lord," he said. "This shall never happen to you." Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." Goodness gracious. It's some time of the day, you guys. Oh my goodness. I apologize. Okay. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done. Truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, and the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, is it good for us to be here? If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my Son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. Face down to the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The disciples asked him, "Why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first?" Jesus replied, "To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but have done to him everything they wished. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands." Then the disciples understood that Then the disciples understood that he was talking to him about John the Baptist. Crazy. I feel as though a lot of people missed this, as did I. I never realized this, but it makes perfect sense now that I had read it, and now that it's here, being spoken about now. But yeah, let's go ahead and just break this down a little bit. So, again, Jesus had actually pointed out exactly what I had said. He's like, actually praising and really honored by the fact that Peter had recognized him, because he's like, you actually, because you see me, flesh and blood. It's hard to, remove sometimes our bodies with the spirit. You see me as flesh and blood, but the fact that you actually realize that I'm Jesus, right? That came from God. That came from pure faith and having pure faith. So that's what Jesus had pointed out, and so that's why he felt so warm and fuzzy when Peter had recognized him as that, because yes, that insight and that knowledge comes from God. Anybody just looking at Jesus probably wouldn't assume that, oh yeah, definitely, right, just by looks. But yes, let's go ahead and just look at this a little bit. Something that he has said twice now throughout this reading was just don't tell anybody. Don't go and tell anybody, because for him to be here, he already knew his fate and what he would be suffering. He didn't want to make his whole journey and the whole message of his teachings and everything about him suffering and him being persecuted, because how much would that deter other people from pursuing that same will and that same messenger type of life? because it's very important work. It's very, very important work. And if his whole life was just chaos and people coming after him and people judging him, where it very much was, he just did not want any more than that. He did not want to have a whole negative spin on his entire journey. So he wanted to be protected, and he wanted this to be kept under wraps. So something very, very important. And then, as it's funny how the other disciples were talking about the prophets, right? He's like, oh, some say it was him, some say it was him, and they are all very, very blessed and favored people by the Lord. So just because it's not Jesus doesn't mean it can't be anyone else who is also very just as important to the message of God and spreading the word of God. It's very, very important work. So that's not to discount any prophets, and that's what Jesus had also shown a choice number of disciples here. He took Peter, James, and John, which is the brother of James, and he took them up to the mountainside and really just revealed his glory. He revealed himself. He was physically illuminating from the inside. I don't know how that happens. It seems like kind of like a Twilight situation where his skin was glittery and glowy, but it's physically like full illumination of his face and skin. And then he also was talking with Moses, who has long since been deceased. Moses and Elijah, right? And who has also been deceased. But it is clear that it is their spirits, right? It is very, very clear that is, they represented themselves in the physical body. That's why they were recognized. But it was their spirits. Something amazing. They realize, once they talked to Jesus about, Elijah was supposed to come back, right? Elijah was supposed to be here, and he was supposed to front run you and, kind of guide the way for you and be kind of the initial person to let us know you were coming. But guess who that actually was? That was John the Baptist. That was John the Baptist, just so baby. I don't know if you can see this little one. But anyways, that was actually John the Baptist. So now we have proof that if we didn't already know that the Bible talks about reincarnation, it most certainly talks about reincarnation. This is what I want to avoid. Yes. This is Air Force, by the way. This is Air Force because he has little white boots on. Yes, that's Air Force. We'll see the other one maybe in a little bit. But yes, how great. So if the Bible didn't mention reincarnation already, it exactly talks about it here, that there can actually be two very well-known people, right? Elijah and John the Baptist are actually of the same spirit. So that's something, or the same, no, not the same soul, because that's more tied to your body, but they have the same spirit. So great, boom, like that's great news because that just proves the prophecy true, and it just opens our minds a little bit to that notion and how common it was at that time and how still common it is. Something that Jesus had also said. He's like, many of you will not see death until you see me again. So what does that mean? That means everybody who is existing in biblical times is also here right now. You can say we have angels on earth as well. You can say God is here on earth right now, because Jesus is coming with God and with disciples, or with angels. So that is something to think about. We can say that everybody that was there then is living here on this earth now and has lived in many different forms since then. Because really it was, one type of people, and those people had babies, and those people had babies, and their relatives come back down. It's a whole thing, and it's a whole beautiful way of life here on earth. Yes, we take some time off sometimes, but we always come back, and we always check in to see how things are going. So always be ready. That's all I have to say about that. Always be ready. Always be prepared. You don't know when your time could come to meet somebody very important, or to go ahead and share your testimony and, share your revelation that is personal to you. So, yes. I have both kitties on the couch now. They're so sweet. The other one's name, I will tell you his name if he comes on camera. But we have Air Force in my lap. Yes. Let's see if we have another reading for today. I'm not sure if it's done, but let me just see. It's more Jesus healing or casting out the evil spirit. I think it's done. Yeah, I think it's done. Okay, so maybe we can talk about this as well, just for the sake of having something to do today. You know, my weekends are very mellow and relaxing, so we might as well get some good words in. Catch you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. See you in a bit.